Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. With the 17th pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Donte DiVincenzo from Villanova. With the 21st pick in that exact same draft, the Utah Jazz selected Grayson Allen from Duke. After the Bucks executed a trade with the Memphis Grizzlies earlier this offseason, these two players are now teammates who will potentially compete with one another for the role of starting shooting guard on this year's iteration of the Milwaukee Bucks. That may not be the only thing that they are competing for, though. In the NBA, young players are eligible to sign their first ever contract extension prior to the final year of their rookie deal. This is the case for 2018 draftees right now. We've already seen young superstars like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sign long-term extensions for the max. Next, we will begin to see lower value players inking extensions long-term. Grayson and Donte both fall into this category, and considering the Bucks' current financial situation, it's likely that they will at most only be able to keep one of these two players long term. In this video, I will be making the case to extend Donte, the case to extend Grayson, and then making my prediction for how this situation concludes. Before we get into the Bucks specific situation, I think it's important to establish the market for this sort of deal. Last year, there were 10 rookie scale extensions signed. Of those 10, 4 of them, Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, Jason Tatum, and De'Aaron Fox, were maximum extensions. I don't think there's any chance that Grayson or Donte gets the max, so it's not really worth discussing those 4 deals in today's video. That leaves us with a sample size of 6 players. Of those 6, I think they can be separated into 2 groupings. The first group consists of Jonathan Isaac, OG Anunoby, and Derek White. These 3 guys got 4-year deals with an average annual value of $17 or $18 million. I think that each of these 3 players had established themselves as high leverage starters in the NBA prior to signing their extensions, and I don't think that Donte or Grayson have reached that level quite yet, so I don't see the Bucks paying them this type of money on an extension prior to this season. The second group of players consists of Kyle Kuzma, Markelle Fultz, and Luke Kennard. These 3 guys got much lower extensions of either 3 or 4 years at an average annual value of $13 to $16 million. These 3 guys are closer to being low leverage starters or even high level bench players. I think that that's much closer to the value that Donte and Grayson bring to a team, so this is the type of price range that they should be looking at. Because of that, I think that a high level deal for either of these 2 players would be 4 years, $64 million, and a low level deal would be 3 years, $39. In all likelihood, an extension would fall somewhere between each of those 2 ranges. Now that we've established the market for rookie scale extensions, let's get into the specificities of the 2 players that the Bucks are considering. We'll start by making the case for extending Donte DiVincenzo rather than Grayson Allen. Donte's biggest selling point here has to be his defense. Over the course of his career, he's posted a 2.1% steal rate. He was as disruptive as ever this past season, as he ranked 21st across the league in deflections per game. He was terrific at anticipating the moves of opposing playmakers and was frequently jumping into passing lanes and creating easy opportunities for the Bucks in transition. Allen is a solid, capable defensive player, but he certainly doesn't stand out on that end of the court in the same way that Donte does. DiVincenzo is also a much better rebounder out of the 2, as he has a 10.4% career rebounding rate, while Allen's is just 5.9%. Additionally, DiVincenzo is the superior on-ball threat of these 2 players. This is true both in terms of playmaking and shot creation. Last year, Donte had a 14.2% assist rate, which was 2.7% higher than Allen's. I also think that DiVincenzo has much more room to improve in this area because he had genuine flashes of being a very crafty passer last season. He was just limited in how much he could showcase that because he was playing alongside 3 other terrific playmakers in Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Donte is also the superior superior shot creator of these two players. A whopping 81% of Grayson Allen's made shots last season were assisted. Dante wasn't much better in this category, but the fact that only 69% of his made shots were assisted show that he's not as reliant on teammates to create shots. Dante does need to do a better job of finishing when he creates shots for himself, but he definitely has more potential in this category than Allen does, and he's already showcased that potential much more frequently than Grayson has. Another advantage in DiVincenzo's favor is his experience playing within the Bucks system. Dante will be entering his 4th season with the team this year, and over the course of that tenure, he has made great improvements playing under coach Mike Budenholzer. In a time of player movement in the NBA, this might not mean as much as it used to, but it probably still should count for something. Overall, I think that DiVincenzo is the better and more impactful player of the two. However, there are some off-the-ball issues such as cost and health that may make Allen a more intriguing candidate for the Bucks. With that being said, let's dig a little bit deeper into the newly acquired Allen's case as the player that the Bucks should focus on extending. The biggest selling point in Allen's favor is definitely his ability to be a knockdown shooter. Over the course of his career, Grayson has made 38.1% of his shots from beyond the arc, which is 3.2 percentage points higher than Dante's 34.9% career mark. That is very important for the Milwaukee Bucks, as spacing alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo is very valuable, as he's such a high-level shot creator that opposing teams are frequently forced to help off of him. That can lead to Allen getting some wide-open looks, and he will be able to knock down those open looks at a higher rate than DiVincenzo does. I also think that Allen is the superior shooter off of movement of these two players, and to me, that's the most valuable trait for an off-ball player in today's NBA, regardless of position. Allen's shooting would make him a real weapon in the Bucks offense, and it's definitely a big reason why they should consider extending him rather than DiVincenzo. The other factors in Grayson's favor have less to do with on-the-court impact and more to do with non-basketball related issues. The first of these is the fact that the Bucks front office may feel pressured to retain Allen after giving up significant draft capital to acquire him via trade earlier this offseason. Grayson will also probably be the cheaper of the two players to retain long-term, as he is 3 years Dante's elder and probably has less long-term potential to develop into an impact starter than the younger DiVincenzo does. Allen may also have a health advantage over Dante, as DiVincenzo has missed significant portions of 2 of his 3 NBA seasons thus far into his career. However, there are also some injury concerns that come along with Allen, as he has missed some time with hip injuries and abdomen injuries during his career, so I don't necessarily think that that is a significant area of advantage in Grayson's favor. Even with that being said, the fact that Allen will likely be much cheaper has to be very appealing to a Bucks team that has already got a loaded cap sheet, so I could see them keeping him around long term instead of DiVincenzo for that reason alone. There are great reasons for the Bucks to extend either one of these two players prior to the onset of the upcoming season. DiVincenzo is the better overall player who has been with the squad for a longer amount of time, but Allen is the superior shooter, and he also will likely come at a cheaper price. Personally, I would probably lean in favor of DiVincenzo, as he's the better overall player at just about everything except for shooting. Shooting is extremely valuable in today's NBA, but the Bucks just won their first championship in 50 years, and they did so while shooting below league average from beyond the three-point line over the course of the postseason. Now that we've broken down the case for both sides and I've given my personal opinion as to what the Bucks should do, let's get into my prediction as to what they will actually do. That prediction is that the Bucks will not extend either of these two players prior to the beginning of next season. The biggest reason why that is my feeling on the topic is the fact that both of these two players will be restricted free agents after this year rather than being unrestricted free agents. That means that the Bucks will retain the right to match any offer sheet on either of these two players from an opposing team next offseason. The Bucks will basically have a trump card that will allow them to keep either of the two players on their team long term if that is the route that they prefer to take. I think the Bucks will probably choose this specific route because it will allow them to play out next season and see how each of these two players performs in the Bucks system. Based off of how next year goes, they can make a much better evaluation and decision on what their core needs to be long term. I don't think that they'll necessarily lose both of these guys in free agency next year, but I don't see them coming to an agreement on an extension prior to the season beginning. I certainly could be wrong on this topic. The Bucks could want to get that extension done before the season, anticipating a breakout year that could lead to the players getting overpaid at the conclusion of the season. If you pay someone based on their value now rather than their market at the end of the year, it could mean that you're getting them on a real bargain on the long-term extension. Even with that being said, it's not what I foresee happening, so my final prediction is going to be that the Bucks will not extend either of these two players before the season starts. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope that you greatly enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. This is the place for you. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I will see you all again very soon.